All right, we're gonna open this, planning and zoning meeting, at 4 o'clock. First thing on the agenda is we have several sets of minutes for approval. And if everyone has looked at them and is okay with approving the minutes, we're gonna try to approve them all at one time unless you wanna pull something out. So if no one has any corrections, I would entertain a motion to approve all of these minutes.
So move, approve all the minutes with one swoop.
We have a motion to approve 1B, 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, and 1E.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand. All right. Move on to 2A. Group,
The approval for the final plat for Mariposa subdivision being 8.57 acres out of the Samuel Wallace Survey number 114, abstract number 348, described in the conveyance document to Habitat for Humanity, Kerr County, recorded file number 23-02578 of the official public records of Kerr County, Texas. This is the final plat for the subdivision. You guys saw the preliminary plat a little over a year ago. All the utilities and infrastructure is installed, and staff recommends for approval. Pleased to answer any questions.
is there someone here from,
Yes, got representatives from Habitat and
Okay.
Wellborn Engineering.
does anyone have any questions for anyone on this plat? All right, if we have no questions, then I will entertain a motion on 2A, approval of the final plat.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve.
A second.
We have a second. All in favor, raise your hand. All right, so we will move on into the public hearing phase. We'll start with 3A.
3A.
Congratulations, Joe.
3A is a zone change from single-family residential with accessory dwelling unit, R1A, to general commercial zoning, C3, for the property address at 307 South Lewis Avenue, Kerrville, Texas. Part of Lot 3 and Lot 4, Block 4, Westland subdivision. And with that, I'll turn it over to the applicant, and then we'll go through staff report after that.
Mr. Chairman and fellow friends and countrymen, Pablo Brinkman, 3928 Oak Park Drive. Our firm represents the Bank and Trust on this tract. We sold them the existing lot. The subject that we're talking about, the contiguous home, is a tear down that we approached the homeowner on. It's a shell structure. And so what we're asking before you is we're going to purchase this demo, and what you've already approved, or well, what the city has approved for our existing under C3 is just to extend this to C3. The look of what we're going to do is just going to be impervious cover, so it'll look exactly like that. We've had, that I'm aware of, nobody with the mail outs have anything, but as you know, as you go down there, it's kind of a mix of C3, C2, right there on the frontage. So all we're going to do is incorporate our same screening that we've already been approved of and just make more parking. Be happy to answer any questions or.
Let's open the public hearing, Pablo, and then we'll get into that.
Okay.
So we're gonna open this public hearing on this at 4:04, and I do have a speaker. And I can't read what it says here, but lives at 403 South Lewis Avenue.
Brett Love, that's me.
You write like I do.
I asked if she could read his handwriting.
That's okay.
So that's the first time I've ever been here. My name is Brett Love. I'm at 403 South Lewis. My wife and I, we both adamantly oppose having commercial properties turned in, to go from residential to commercial in our neighborhood. I don't think there's very many people from my neighborhood here. Most of them are pretty old and they don't get around so good. But as I talk to them, they're adamantly opposed to it too. But they can't come out and attend these.
So, Mr. Lowe, where is your house in reference to where the lot?
Just 3 houses down,
Same side of the street?
same
Yeah.
side of the street. Right at where Lois comes in.
Okay, I got you.
403.
Yeah, 403 South Lewis. Number 3 or 4 houses.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and so, we already have what used to be Sears and now is a bank, and that's fine. But any other commercial properties that encroach into our neighborhood only adds more traffic, more noise, and with elderly people in our neighborhood, you don't need any more noise that we already have. Right now, it's pretty nice, but we don't want to make it, commercial at all. I don't know who's trying to make that house commercial, or why it's such a small property. You couldn't even put a parking lot there. It's literally a small half a lot. Unless they're taking it for the bank, I don't know.
And I think that's what they're doing, and the gentleman that represents the owner is right there behind you.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir. So what we're doing is we're buying that to do exactly what you want, is more buffer to not have, because of our drive lanes that we have for our bank come right by that house. And so this is gonna be parking, so this is actually gonna give you more buffer for this. So this is a continuation of the bank and trust. It's not, you're very correct. That, as a postage stamp, you couldn't do anything on there. You couldn't have a QSR or anything. So you're wise in your thinking, but the reasoning behind it is just to give more buffer and to be good neighbors so that we have that parking that's there.
Not another vape shop going in there.
Not a vape shop, not a.
Just saying.
That was our biggest
Just saying.
I'm trying to get the trifecta with the bank.
Just another bank.
Another parking
All
lot.
right, I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
It'll actually make it better for y'all the way, because of our queuing for our drive lines.
Yeah, I see that. We're watching that as it develops,
Yes,
that
ma'am.
bank area.
Yes,
So we
ma'am.
would
Pablo,
drive
could
by
you
it.
describe to us the
Twice a
screening
day.
that you're gonna have up at the back there?
I believe we have, an
Thank you
eight.
very much.
You bet.
Yes, sir, and I'll be happy to answer any more questions. We have, it's been required by the city to have screening. I believe we have an 8-foot fence there that is, I think it's slated to be a wood fence, is that correct? So aesthetically, it's gonna look good there, and it's we'll come in, we'll take everything down there, and it'll just be impervious cover. So there won't be another curb cut added. We have the existing curb cut, and so we may end up closing that and just have direct toe in to parking.
The thought would be that it would be paved or.
It'll be paved, yep.
Fencing or maybe a little bit of landscape.
It'll
buffer
be
or something.
paved,
Okay.
yes, ma'am. Per requirements, because of impervious cover, we have to do pavers, concrete, or asphalt, and it'll be asphalt, so it'll all be paved with the bank. It'll give you actually a little bit more buffer as a result.
So they're gonna have to come back and do that again because they're already pouring that concrete.
Well, that's different than what, so what, I'm not involved in that construction,
Okay.
so it'll look like it was all purposefully done.
Okay.
It was just an opportunity with that house is just a shell
Oh.
right now, there's nothing.
We get it, we get that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
we-
I guess we change our argument.
You wanna get back up and reintroduce yourself?
That's why you come.
We
and
did not want a vape shop there.
No,
or
we-
something.
that was our
I
biggest
mean,
I
Yeah.
don't think
Or
anybody.
chicken or nail salon.
Well,
Or a fly-by-night loan company.
no,
Yeah,
neither.
or, yeah, another,
Brian,
yeah.
Brian, do you wanna come up,
Yeah.
introduce yourself?
So I'm Brian Bowers, the market president for the Bank and Trust, and our goal is we want to be good neighbors with the neighborhood. And so when we looked at that, and parking was already tight on that lot, and planning for growth and future, we've got a community room there that's going to be opened up to where if people in the community want to use it, they can come. But our parking lot's not going to be just huge. And so what we're trying to do is create ways to have additional parking so that we can also have not have, when we have community events, so many vehicles and stuff on the street.
Yeah, because
So-
there is no parking.
So, yeah, so our plan is we'll come in, we would tear that house down, we'd put up the fencing on the back, and then we will work to start creating a parking lot on that lot and then make it part of our property would be the ultimate plan.
Sounds good.
All right.
So,
we're-
Thank you.
we're okay.
No vape shop, I can assure you.
Thank God.
Appreciate it.
If there are no other speakers, then I'll close the public hearing, 4:17. And if there's no other issues, then I'll entertain a motion on the rezone.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve and a second on the rezone on the lot. All in favor, raise your hand. All right. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, we're gonna move on to 3B. Drew?
3B is a change in zoning from single-family zoning district R1 to multifamily residential zoning district R3. Property address at 110 High Ridge Drive, Kerrville, Texas. Lot 1 of Saddle Ridge subdivision, 5.76 acres. I'll turn it over to the applicant, and then I'll go through the staff report before the public hearing.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is James Stewart. I am both a neighbor of this property and I represent the owner in this property. This was originally about an 8.7 acre tract. It's been for sale for years. Originally, they were planning on doing a development, but there's almost about 120-foot grade, which makes it very difficult to develop it into a neighborhood. I approached the owner a little while ago, and I asked him, well, would he be interested in selling the top portion of it? Because they've been having some interest in it to turn it into apartments or something like that. And I said, well, I would like a buffer with my property. My property is the Villa Saralita, which is the 26 acres adjacent to this property. And so I said, well, could I purchase this and then help you upzone it to R3 if that's what you need to do? He said yes, so we ended up having a little bit of a buffer between us and the neighborhood above us. We have no real plans for Lot 2 of Saddle Ridge. It's just maybe walking trails or whatever else. Lot 1 is about 5.7 acres. The broker anticipates he's talked with some commercial buyers that may be interested in it. They're probably looking at doing an apartment building, and it'll be one of those where they kind of cut the hill a bit and bring it forward. So the apartment building is going to be probably about 100 feet below High Ridge up there. And that's kind of the plan of what they're looking at. This property already is in the 2050 priority zone. It's neighboring the River Hill Apartments, which is R3. It's across the street from R2s or C2s. It's adjacent to a C1 lot right now. It's going to be developed at some point. I think by doing R3 transitional housing is a nice way to do it. So River Hill Apartments, which is right below our property, and if you look at we're only maybe a couple hundred feet from the building. We don't really hear them at all. So I'm not too worried about this being an apartment building, but I do like having a little bit of a buffer zone between us. So that's what we're hoping to do.
So are you saying that you own, I don't know, is it a lot? I know.
I own Lot 2, which is the one that's kind of an L-shaped one. And then I own the one that's to the left of that one.
Okay, so you own the lot that is a buffer between the residential development and this 5 acres?
Yes.
So and just for my informational purposes, what you think's gonna happen in the front, if they develop an apartment down there, there's no way that this property ever gets connected to the residential developments in the back from access or any other thing? Roads, I mean,
They do have a reserved easement to cross Road 1. They're worried about it for fire code, that they might need 2 accesses and out, but I don't anticipate anybody's going to make that a regular road. That's a pretty steep grade going down that gully there. And honestly, it washes out quite a bit of the time when there's water. It's sitting on top of an easement for the city. The city has water there. They have power lines. There may be a driveway that goes up there, but I don't anticipate that it's ever going to be a major road that goes through it.
any other questions before we open public hearing, guys?
Is that the only speaker?
No, I got a bunch of speakers. Any other questions for the owner? All right, then I'm gonna open the public hearing on this. Thank you. At 4:50.
Yeah, Meg, I'll go through the staff report.
Okay, go
first.
ahead. Go ahead, before we open it.
So again, Lot 1 is the parcel proposed to go to R3. Lot 2, Mr. Stewart owns. It is remaining R1. Currently zoned R1, as you can see here, R3 to the northwest, C1 to the southeast, and then across Bandera Highway is C2 and C3. Here's the updated comp plan. It is marked as residential. And the previous comp plan, it was part of the Catalyst area around G Street and Bandera Highway and Highway 16. And then just another quick note, staff has been made aware of the deed restrictions on this property. That on the deed restrictions limited to single family. However, the deed restrictions are a civil matter between property owners. It does not dictate the city's zoning process for the planning commission or city council. So we are aware of that, but it won't impact anything here today. It's something they'll have to talk through and work through later. Be pleased to answer any questions before or after the public hearing.
Got questions before we open the public hearing?
I do. A couple of questions. One, what is the height restriction if it were rezoned?
In R3, so it depends on how close they are to the property line. So since
Pick
they're
the worst case.
So since they are adjacent to R1, as the buildings get taller, they have to move the building further away from the property line. So the maximum height, I don't know off the top of my head. Standard setback would be 25 feet, and I think that's up to a 25-foot height. Anything above that, they have to move forward or away from the R1 zoning 1 foot per height of building.
But there's not a maximum like 30 feet,
There is. Give me a second and I'll look that up.
I think it's 41,
41?
I think.
Yeah, I'll double check.
And that's one question, thank you. And two is it possible for us to change a zoning with restrictions for height? Or not?
We don't typically add conditions to it, excuse me. Since it's not a planned development district, we don't have any additional conditions, so it would just be the standard zoning district that would apply.
I'm looking over in the corner to see if nodding or shaking his head.
No, I think he captured the response. I think that's a correct response.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
I do have some questions, but I want to go through the public hearing and then we'll get to that. So we're going to open the public hearing on this at 4:18. And I do have some speakers. Fred Toll.
It's Freed.
Freed?
Freed, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Freed from work, but not quite yet.
Freed Toll.
Freed's all. Okay, I'm not a public speaker, so thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time. As I said, my name is Freed Toll. I live at 300 Overlook Drive, which if you look on the diagram, is directly over the property. My wife and I moved here.
Hold on a second. Can you put the diagram back up real quick? We've got the timer on here now. So you live above the back lot?
Right
Not
above.
not this lot?
No, I live, is that it?
300.
That's 300.
I just got glasses at the tender age of 64, so this whole trifocal
Well, you're
thing,
pretty
I can't-
lucky then.
Well, unless you try to learn to read at 64 with glasses, but anyway. So, so it's directly behind my property is this proposed development. My wife and I moved here because we were looking for a small town with charm. I grew up in a small town, and we love the natural beauty here. Our kids used to come down from Mo Ranch when we lived in Dallas for camp every summer. We're tired of Dallas, the pollution, the noise, and the traffic of the big city, and we just love Kerrville. And we've been here since 2022, and we've loved every minute of it. It's just been a wonderful place. We met some really good friends. I play golf out at River Hill, which is fun. Not any good, but I do enjoy it. So when I got this notice, I was just kind of taken back. I was like, well, I don't know, what's going on here. Never even thought that could be developed because it's, part of our neighborhood, and it's all zoned as R1. So what I was told is if they developed it, it would be single-family homes of the same size and scale as what we have in our neighborhood. And I guess part of it, because it is so steep, wouldn't be developable anyway. But saying that, it's like there are apartments, as Mr. Stewart mentioned, just to the left, which you see there. And I wake up every morning and I can hear like dumpsters. They have those big industrial dumpsters. And you hear them 6 a.m., not every morning, but every couple of mornings, a week. It's like wham, 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 wham when they're dumping the trash, which I understand they have to do that.
But, you know, that's not really fun. And then I also get the noise from car alarms going off. And that's, you know, the noise travels right up the hill, so it's just something that I hear a lot of. You know, the highway noise is not so bad because it's further, you know, down the slope, but I do get a lot of noise from there. Additional apartments are certainly not going to make it any less quiet for us. And, you know, I worry about pollution and things like that. Right now, the way that our neighborhood is set up, we have one way in and out, so it's very secure. You know, they talk about they're not going to develop a road, but, you know, there's a connection right into River Hill Boulevard where there could be a road that would come from this lower area. So I'm really concerned about how our traffic situation would be. You know, we have a lot of young kids and children in our neighborhood, and, you know, I don't want to have to worry about our kids or even me and my wife walking around getting run over because there's too many people on too small of a road. So I just wonder how this development would change that, you know, how that's going to affect our quality of life. The other thing that concerns me is that if they're doing all this building, it is a very steep slope. How's that going to affect, you know, the erosion, and how's that going to affect my lot, you know, as they build this down? And I'm worried about, you know, we know what flooding's like here, obviously, but is the slope on that, is that going to destabilize my lot? I might have to worry about my hill, you know, house sliding down the hill. You know, that's, you know, a major concern for me, obviously. The other thing I'm concerned about is if this construction is allowed to happen, you know, what's going to happen with the process? You know, obviously that would be a lot of noise, a lot of dust, a lot of oil, you know, air and soil pollution. And honestly, if I wanted that kind of construction and stuff going on around me, I would have stayed in Dallas. You know? That's what we kind of moved away for. In closing, I'd also like to point out that there was a judgment about this same situation 10 years ago. And the development was stopped because basically there are covenants within our association that they can't make any changes to, you know, how it's being developed without a vote of the HOA members. And this was never brought forward to the HOA members. So the only people that were actually notified were the people that have, you know, me and the other people that have property that borders this development, not anybody else in the neighborhood. And it's a pretty big neighborhood, and since it is dependent on the HOA voting on this, it would have been nice if they would have been consulted as well. So I kind of have an issue with that. And also, I'd like to point out that Mr. Stewart, you got your property, the upper lot, last month, is that correct?
Yep.
July? So this is not something he's had for a long time. This is something that he was just recently acquired to represent Mr. What's his name? Mr. Hickey, who was part of Hi-Ho Corporation, which had the lawsuit that we had the lawsuit against in 2015. And I have the settlement order and judgment if you're interested in seeing a copy of it. So they're aware of the situation. They're aware that they tried to do this again. It was litigated and it was not moved forward. So I just wish that it wouldn't be moved forward again. So I'm definitely against this, and I think hopefully you can understand my position. Thank you.
Appreciate your time, and just notification is anybody that owns property within 200 feet of a property under consideration that requires a public hearing, that's who has to be notified. People that are 400 or 500 feet away, they don't have to be notified. Typically, there's a sign posted in front of the property that says it will be subject to a public hearing. So anyone that might not get the notice or has an interest in it, if they see that sign, they know there's a public hearing, and it's also posted in the paper. So that's probably why most of the people in the HOA didn't get notified, because they're not within 200 feet of the property. That is the way, that is.
And I get the Kerrville paper, and I didn't
It's not in the
notice it,
Kerrville
so-
paper. I think it's in the Community Journal. Is that where it is, Drew?
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think I get that one. All right, well, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you. All right, John. I hate to say this last name. I don't want to be wrong.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is John Fott. I live next to Freed. I'm within 200 feet, but so on the dotted line and got notification. I want to formally oppose the zoning change being considered. My wife grew up playing in the High Ridge neighborhood. My wife, former Commissioner Ann Overby's daughter. Grew up playing in the High Ridge neighborhood, starting in
Look,
the
he's a
third.
name dropper.
Yeah, well, I gotta bring the big guns with me, you know? She grew up playing in this High Ridge neighborhood, starting in the third grade. When the opportunity came to purchase our home at 294 Overlook Drive, she knew right away it was where she wanted to raise our two daughters, now 3.5 and 1.5 years old. We were drawn to the charm of the established neighborhood, where neighbors out walking their dogs and kids would ride their bikes freely. We bought our home with clear intent to build our life here in Kerrville. During that process, we inquired about the property behind us, and we were assured of the existing zoning and deed restrictions. We also learned there had been prior litigation confirming those restrictions, specifically preserving the area for single-family homes. From what we understand, my case has been looped in on this, and there's clear documentation showing that any changes would require approval from affected property owners. We're happy to provide that documentation to the board if it's helpful to you all. Allowing a zoning change and connecting roads through High Ridge would bring hundreds of additional vehicles into the neighborhood, putting added strain on our streets, more importantly, compromising the safety and security of our families. We absolutely support the need for affordable housing and have personal experience developing commercial property. But we believe Kerrville already has a thoughtful zoning strategy in place that promotes affordable housing in a more intentional and equitable way, without relying on spot zoning in long-established residential neighborhoods. All we ask is that you uphold the existing deed restrictions, respect prior zoning board decisions, and stay aligned with the city's strategic development plan. A zoning change to multifamily housing here seems to serve the financial interests of a single developer at the expense of the broader community. Thank you for your time, your service, and hearing our comments.
Thank you. Chris?
Callan, I'd like to pass to Jack, but reserve, I won't make a comment afterwards, if that's okay.
Yeah. If Jack, you ready? Or you want to wait?
I'll take my turn.
Come on.
Am I ready?
Yes, sir.
Most of you know, Mr. Chairman, Board, my name is Jack Pratt. Some of you know that I used to be mayor. In fact, I was mayor when the judgment came. Okay? So I rise in opposition to this rezoning. I'd like to bring your attention, there were no signs posted with any distance from the property to notify the residents that are affected by this rezoning proposal. The judgment, I'll reiterate to back up that you have to have a majority of the homeowners of that subdivision. And I want you, for clarification, High Ridge is not part of the River Hill subdivision. It's a separate homeowners association. Okay, so we have our own. The proposal putting in quotes, I call it cheap multifamily. You're gonna wanna put that right next to one of the highest taxed properties, residential properties in Kerrville. That's gonna lower our property taxes. And I reiterate my opposition. Thank you.
Jack, can I ask you a question? And this has nothing to do with whether the litigation has anything to do with this. You're talking about this was done, was there a proposal to rezone this 10 years ago, or was it just to develop it?
Well, it was to rezone it, and also to put in, you have to have an entrance and an exit. So they had to wanted to put a street in that came into High Ridge, which really interrupts our little river trail, if you want to call it. People walking and jogging and walking their pets. With all that traffic coming through, you can't do that anymore.
Thank you. One last chance, Chris.
I'll go ahead.
Can I mention something about the road?
Yeah, when we're done. You're in the public hearing, so you'll be able to speak. Go ahead, Chris.
Thank you all for listening to all of us today. We really do.
Introduce yourself.
I'm sorry, Chris Callan. I live at 306 Overlook Drive,
Okay.
which is just outside that red line. I was notified from this by Freed and by John, and so I was not notified by a letter or seeing a sign. But, you know, in addition to the concerns they have mentioned, we have to worry about property valuations, and that being that close to our neighborhood would hurt our property valuations, I believe. Also, too, you know, we are worried about the environmental issues. You know, yes, we are one lot removed from it, but that could still cause settling if you start digging into that hill. So my wife and I strongly oppose this, and I believe y'all were sent several emails by other neighbors as well. So I hope y'all did receive those and
We
have
did.
time to look at those. And
Yes,
so
sir.
we appreciate your consideration, and once again, just to be on record, we do oppose this. Thank you.
I don't have any other speakers signed up to speak.
Can I yield some of my time to Bethel?
It's public.
No, but he can speak. You realize what you're doing, Jack?
Pablo Brinkman, 3928 Oak Park Drive. I get it. I understand. We're in the business to try to make infield, but it's been before you. There was a lawsuit, there was action, there was reaction. This is R1 for a reason. Everybody that's been on Lehman Drive of late, and if you hadn't, just go anytime there's a storm, and you'll see that the HUD multi-story senior, I represent several clients from there. The city has probably spent a good $250,000 in cleanup from them. There's an impending lawsuit from that, and it's all because of the hydrology. It's all because of cutting into, and maybe you're from here and not, but this is limestone. When you cut into limestone, it's gonna look like that piece of paper for the rest of your life. And so the hydrology is that reason. I get these things. I represent 3 properties, 582 foot of frontage, 5 properties down from this for a client. It is zoned for that reason. And as you come in here, you can see where it stops where the multifamily is. That was the last place they could do. I'm very familiar with your property because I used to represent Villa Saralita. And there's a reason why this has come up again, and I would ask that it not be granted for the same reasons. And I don't know if you can rubber stamp it but it's just gonna keep coming up, but there's a reason. And it's the hydrology, the cutting in, but it's R1. Yes, it's right across from the movie theater. Yes, it's right next to River Hill Apartments, but we have this for a reason. And I think never more now in our history of Kerrville. I was born in 1964, moved here in 1968, 4th house in River Hill with those 9 holes. We've got to protect. You don't buy the views, unfortunately, when you buy a home, but we have to protect what we have. And because of the tree ordinance, because of things, this is an R1. It needs to remain R1. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else? Mr. Stewart, do you want to speak again?
Yeah, so we're talking about the road. Let me be clear, there is no public road that's gonna be going through here. The entrance for the road on Bandera Highway is about in the middle of the property, and that's where TxDOT says it has to be. The road that goes through there, that's on private property. There's no way that this is gonna be a public road. It already is a private road. High Ridge Drive above there, that is a public road. That's a city road that's paid for. Everybody can do it. It's not a private neighborhood road. But no, the anticipation isn't going to be that there'd be traffic going through one way or another. I think it's interesting, thank you, Mr. Brinkman, about the limestone, and that's really a big part of it too. This is a very sturdy property. There's not gonna be any schleppage or anything else. And before you'd have to do any of those type of things, you need to do permitting, engineering surveys, and everything else. If you look at lot 1 where that is, there's a nice green band that goes to there. That's actually a shelf. So it drops down about 60 feet, and then there's a shelf that goes out for about 50, 60 feet, and then it kind of tapers off down there even more. I don't think they wouldn't even be coming up there. I mean, you're talking about property that may be dug in 20, 30 feet at best. They're definitely not going to push it all the way back to the lot 2 line. So.
Thank you. Anyone else before we close the public hearing? All right, I'm going to close the public hearing, 4:35. And, I have some questions. Anybody else have any questions he wants to ask? Go ahead. My question about this is, and again, I go back to the original, was there a request to rezone this property 10 years ago? That it was wanted to be rezoned from something from R1 that was turned down by planning and zoning?
That was before I was here. I'm gonna have to defer to
Mike?
Mr. Hayes.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
can't remember. I don't discount or disbelieve what they say, if they say that it was attempted to rezone. I know that this property has been subject to the lawsuit. I've seen the settlement document, and I know it's been subject to development plans before, but I can't remember if a zoning change came before you all, or, you know, your predecessors 10 years ago.
Through our zoning changes, it still has to go to council?
Yes. Yeah, zoning change will go to city council. And I've got an answer for Mr. Lovett's question on height requirements. Bear with me while I read to you. There's no height limit except when adjacent to residential district. 2 stories up to 35 feet when the building is 25 to 50 feet from the residential property line. 3 stories up to 45 feet if the building is 50 feet or more from the property line. And then a maximum of 45 feet when the building is 100 feet or more, with that additional 1 foot per foot of setback. The maximum height would be 45 feet. Or excuse me, 45 feet unless they exceed 100 foot of setback. And
Comments?
one more, Chairman.
Yeah.
In relation to the road, obviously it's another private property, so that would, unless they dedicated that to the city, would not be a private or a public road. The zoning code also requires multifamily to access a collector or arterial. So we wouldn't allow regular access to High Ridge Drive. They could use it as an emergency access only if the fire code dictated that, but that would be private and more than likely gated, so that it's emergency access only.
Comments?
I have a question.
Question? Go ahead.
Obviously, I didn't know about the lawsuit. I would like to know more about that before I make a decision on something. I don't want to make a decision blind. Is it possible for us to defer this for a meeting and
It is.
revisit it?
Yes, you can.
That way we can get all the information.
Well, you can defer it, but the lawsuit has no bearing on the question of rezoning. I'm not.
Right.
I know what you're saying, because I feel the same way about it. This is a rezoning hearing, and I think what you have to do is look at the merits of what it's gonna do. Is it I mean, I look at it, land use one thing, impact to me is bigger in rezoning something. And I'm happy to defer it, honestly, I am, if that's what everybody wants to do. But I think whatever you're gonna find out in the lawsuit, I don't think we can use that, as a reason to deny or move forward. Am I right, Mike?
You're right. And I was listening to the comments, and I made some notes. Let me just run through my notes, just to make sure y'all are clear. Zoning doesn't have any impact on deed restrictions. Okay, those are separate issues. City, based on our zoning, we're not in the business of enforcing deed restrictions. That is a private civil matter between property owners. And so you all could rezone this frankly, for a nuclear site, and they, presumably couldn't blow and go because they've got these deed restrictions in place. Have I looked at the settlement paperwork? Yes, I've looked at it. Again, it's all about deed restrictions and declarant and what someone thought they were purchasing, and it's not relevant to the decision that's before you all, whether this request for rezoning is an appropriate use for this property. You've heard some issues with respect to that. terms of, that type of use and the impact on that neighborhood to the south and west. But that's really what, that's the issue before you is strictly a zoning issue, whether this is an appropriate use. And they may, the deed restrictions may be ready, for a fight for another day, not before this body, and we weren't a party to that lawsuit, nor would we be, so.
Any other comments?
I do.
Good.
If I bought a house above this property recently, or 10 years ago, or whenever, I looked down that hill and I asked the person I was buying it from, or the realtor, or whoever it was, what is that? And they said, that is R1. That's what I was expect it's gonna be when I live in that house. The other thing is, and I know zoning changes because cities change, but we need to put a lot of thought into it. I've cut a few limestone hills in developing property in my life. I see a lot of water coming down this, and it may not be as uncomplicated and simple as the developer thinks it's going to be. And that doesn't mean you can't solve it. It just means it's going to be a big deal. The other thing is, we don't know what it's going to be. And if this commission and the subsequent vote of city council, if this is all approved, it could be everything up to the limit of whatever the statute is, not what you imagine. And if you don't know what that is, you can't tell somebody what that is. And I know zoning's not even contingent on that, but if you can in good faith say, this is what we're gonna do, they're 30 feet tall and they're 50 feet away and there's no road in and all those things, then what we're doing is cutting it loose for whatever is the biggest moneymaker for the new property owner. And I just can't vote for that. I don't see any reason to.
David, anything?
No.
David?
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Levitt. I think carts before the horse a little bit, and I, like Kim, have concerns, even though we're not taking it into consideration. And I also, we have to go back probably to the short-term rental discussion to come across a case that had so many items or comments opposed. It's very clear that the neighborhood is not supportive of this.
Kevin?
Just a couple of comments. I totally agree. When you just kind of give this the carte blanche and you don't know what's going to be there, I'd rather see the developer with a plan and come in here before we really assess that better, what actually is going to be there and what that looks like, instead of just again, just a blanket rezoning. To say that too, looking at that, there's more commercial properties around that property than there are residents as well. It's on the highway. It's surrounded by commercial properties. So I think, with the 2050 plan and some of that, I think it does make sense from that standpoint too. So.
It's a tough situation. I totally understand. If I lived there, I would probably feel the same way. My issues with this are several. Number one, John made it very clear. Mr. Stewart has some good ideas. He thinks he knows what's going to happen there. But rezoning this property to R3 just opens a door that I don't see makes sense. I think that this is an R1 zone property. If this was a piece of property that was unzoned and someone was coming in to zone it R3 and the residents were there, they would probably feel just the same. But I think that the fact that this was zoned R1 when they all came in there, and it's been fought before, and there's a lot of destroying of land that would have to be done to make this property feasible for a multifamily project. You're going to you're just gonna scar everything over there, and in the times we are right now, like, I think Pablo made a good point, we've got tree ordinances. I just don't see any reason to rezone that property. Put multifamily in there, and it does have some commercial around it, I don't know how long the commercial was there, but it's an R1 zone property, and everything around it, residential wise on that side of the highway, behind it is R1 properties, and I just personally I don't see a reason to rezone it to R3, it's my personal opinion. So if there are no other comments or anything, then I will ask for a motion on the consideration of changing this property from R1 to R3.
The rezoning.
A second.
We have a motion and a second to deny the R1 zoning. All in favor, raise your hand. All right, then this motion fails. Appreciate everyone. Appreciate Mr. Stewart's opinion, but it just doesn't make sense. Staff report, Drew?
Our next meeting will be September 4th. And off the top of my head, I'm not sure if we have any cases yet, but we'll let you know.
Not anything else? We're adjourned.